Our last speaker for today is Kostas Terzidis. Kostas is the professor at the College of Design and Innovation at Tongji University and director of the Shan Xian Lab. His speech is titled, "Is This the Death of the Artistic Genius?" Please join me in welcoming Kostas.
I heard there is a funeral today. I hope I'm appropriately dressed for the occasion today. You don't know? Nobody knows? Oh my God, I'm the one who have to break out the news to you today? Oh my, well, I don't know how to bring it to you, but the artist, the one we all love, you know, that socialite, charming lady that we all loved and cherished, I'm afraid she passed away last night. I know it's tragic. In fact, I was shocked too. It's an amazing death. And many, many people are gathered here today for her funeral, and me one of them. Many people think that she died because of old age. Some people believe that she died out of a suicide. But I believe that she died from murder. In fact, it was poisoning. She died slowly over time. So I would like to offer to you, in lieu of an eulogy or an obituary for the bereaved, my investigation that I did on her death. I think it's the least that I can do to honor and rest her soul in peace. I have divided my investigation into three parts. The first part is the digital, or we can call it the motives. The second part, ethics, the opportunity. And the third one, which I called art and design, which is the actual act of murder. I don't know if you can read between the lines, but DAD, dead. So let me start with the first part, the digital. May 2019, 2 years ago, Shanghai. A faculty of ours, Jan, you probably know him. He's a very nice guy, Swedish guy. He comes every year and he gives his lectures. He invited me to one of his exhibitions in M50, M50 in Shanghai. And there's me in one of the panel discussions. And basically what he was showing was his new book called An Original Copy. Jan is there, you can see him, and he actually was showing us his work. Now, Jan is a very interesting guy, and he actually is very interested in art. I think his branding is his area. So he just fallen in love with all these painters, this one and this one and that one. All these painters, he loved them. And he wanted them to make a portrait of him, to draw him in the style that each one had. So what he did is he decided to hire all of them to make a portrait of him. Now, Jan is a very rich guy, but not that rich. These guys are very expensive. Each one of them is like over $1 million, whatever. And I'm talking euros here. So what he did is he was able to make it, to get them, to convince them to do it. And there he is. He produced this book, which has the portraits of him from these famous artists, the most famous in Shanghai. But there's a twist. He couldn't afford that, as I said before, because they're too expensive. So what he did instead, he went down to Dafo in Shenzhen, it's close to Shenzhen, and he hired some, what we call fake artists, to make copies of him in the style of the designers the painters that he loved. And that's how he did it. So everybody was looking at the paintings and everybody was like so excited about them, and they thought he was like, must be very rich, but nobody knew about what exactly was going on. So basically we had a conversation in which somehow it was revealed that he actually was not really the one who owned the paintings, but he hired, they owned the painters, intellectually speaking, but he actually used the other ones to alter. And we had this very nice conversation about what is really original, what is a copy, what is original, and what is a forger or a fake. That was the question that and as I was talking in the public and I was discussing and everybody was very excited and everybody was talking, it occurred to me that there's something going on as we speak, 2019. We have a painter who makes a painting, has a style, studies, goes to the school of whatever, St. Martin's, wherever he goes into the world, learns his style, then he expresses himself. Then we have a photographer who takes a picture of the painting of the guy. Then we have some guy somewhere in, again, Dafo, who learns the style and tries to make a copy of that looks that the original. But again, you can see that it's not because that is Jan. We already know that. And then we have the forger who actually is making a copy to be exactly the same so nobody can tell the difference. And then finally, we have what we call the NFT, which is the one who guarantees that the copy that you have, which is digital and can be reproduced forever, is actually original, whatever that means. So I'm looking at that, I'm thinking like, from my point of view, excuse me, what? Oh, talk to me. There is a painter, which is the human, the one we all know, which we all love, the one who actually died yesterday. We have the photographer, which is the mechanical sort of like paradigm. Then we have the alterator, which is the algorithmic who knows something and alters it in a certain way. Then we have the meta, which is the painter of the painter, right? And then we have the crypto, which is the cover up. So I'm looking at all these things and like something is going on. We start from the human and then we're getting less and less and less and less and less human until one day, what if there's no human at all involved? What then? Let me back up for a second here just so you understand what exactly we're talking about here, because this is going on for quite some time and people are not really noticing it. In the beginning, everything was simple. There's a painter, we know a painting is really original, and we know the photographer is original because we just see and we believe whatever we see. Okay, that was the time 100 years ago. But something happened, something around 1990, I would say, late 80s. We have the emergence of a third party, which is not a painter, is not a photographer. It's what we call the user. Who is the user? User is anybody. I'm a user. You're a user. Aldo's a user. My wife is a user. My mother's a user. Everybody that I know could be a user because everybody can take something called Photoshop and can apply a little filter and actually become a painter instantly. That's me. Not me, really. It's pixels on the screen that represents me. It's little pixels. So what we do is we take Photoshop, we apply a filter. My mother called me the other day and said like, oh, look what I did for you. Look. So I'm looking at that, I'm like thinking, wow, this is fantastic. I mean, 100 years ago, if my mother did that, she would be very famous. Probably she would have changed the world of art. But today, it doesn't even matter. It's so mundane, it's so everyday, so trivial that nobody really even cares about it. So all of a sudden, something that was so important became a really nothing. And it goes even worse. Somewhere in Silicon Valley, where Photoshop, i.e. Adobe is, there's a guy somewhere in a dark little desk who writes things all day. We call them code, okay? Which is basically text. Text that actually is in a language that talks to a computer, which computer generates a software that actually is sold by Photoshop to my mother to make a painting of me to pretend to be an artist. But, and this is more or less what it looks like. This is a example, very simple example of a code that says like, go for every pixel on the screen. Every time you find a pixel, just move its location, randomly disturb it. And then you do it, and then you get something like that, which is like a Seurat sort of effect. Really, that's what Seurat was doing anyway. On the first place, he was just doing that. But the person who wrote this software is not even a painter, not even knows about painting. Probably is an engineer, some, I don't know, like a computer science, maybe a fluid mechanics engineer, because that is basically fluid mechanics is something that has a lot of fluidity in the image that you produce. So that guy is not even connected. So we have a distancing from the original painter as we go along. And it gets even worse because what you're seeing here on the screen is just text. The code, as we call it a code, is not really anything other than just words. Like go there, do that, do that, do that, do that, do that. Now, assume that you take those go, do, and you take them in a different order. You get a different algorithm. What if you do it in a random way and you produce another algorithm that produces another type of painting that nobody actually did? We refer to that as a neural network, which is basically a system that produces systems, okay? So it's not even human at this point. We have distanced completely the idea of a human related to a painting that we thought that's the original thing. The question again starts, and this is exactly what we're doing today, is who is the author at the end? Is it a human? And if it's not a human, what is the author? Because it's not a who anymore. There's no identity. Takes me to the second part, which is the ethics. Okay, I'm going to give you two cases that have to do with the motivation of the death. October 2018, New York City. A painting, you probably know that, called Bellamy, was sold for $500,000, almost $500,000. If you go close to it, you may notice that it looks like a painting. I don't see anything. Why is it so expensive? What's the big deal out of it? But if you go closer, you look at the lower right corner, you may find that there is a mathematical little formula there that is not really human in the sense of a signature of somebody, but it represents something abstract, if you like. And it is. It is based on something called a GAN, a generative adversarial. You heard about it ad nauseum today. But basically, the idea is that you have two systems that compete with one another, and they try to make a perfect painting, but not really perfect. Try to make exactly the painting that was originally planned to be. So they're not really making something new. They're just coming with something that was originally planned, but it is in a competitive manner. And it looks like this. It starts from like completely random, and it starts learning, as we say, in quotes again, to become more and more close to something that looks again like human, because it has to look like human since we gave it human as the final target. Okay. And again, it was by these guys. We saw them yesterday. We talked to them. And this was the story of this, and $500,000 was sold. But again, a problem. These three guys were faced by a fourth person, shows up and says that, hey, this software was written by me. You'd be using it. And they said, no, we're not using it. We're taking it in a different way. Anyway, there's a dispute. I don't want to get into that right now because it's not my business. But what I want to say is that the question that I have to ask is, who is the painter? And I'm not meaning in the sense that who actually got the money. I'm talking about in the philosophical sense that the person or the thing in possession of the intellectual, whatever you can call it, like the possession of the thing, who is that person? Because the three guys said, we just use some software. The other guy said, I wrote the software. But I wrote the software, but I couldn't make that painting. And the people who use it could not write the software, didn't know what was happening. Nobody could explain what exactly is going on. So therefore, we have a problem because none of them is, according to me, the painter. April 2018, same year, San Francisco, California, there is a lawsuit against two people. One is against actually a photographer, a British photographer, okay? And it's by Naruto. Naruto is suing basically the photographer. But the problem is that Naruto is not human. It's a monkey. So a monkey is suing a person. Well, how is that possible? Well, here's what happened. For a few years ago, there was this guy, the photographer, who was actually taking pictures of monkeys in the desert, in the jungle, somewhere in Indonesia, I think that's where it was. And as he was let his camera down on the floor, one of the monkeys took it and took a picture of itself, which is this one over here. So Slater was so happy that he thought, oh, this is fantastic. This is a picture that I have taken from it's a selfie of the, at that time selfie was a big deal. And he actually posted it online and he assumed that he's going to become very famous. Except the problem is that people took that, a company took that photo and actually distributed it for free in the internet. And then he went back and said like, well, that's my photo. And they said, no, it's not your photo. It's the monkey's photo. And he's like, no, I took the camera. I had all the information there. The monkey just clicked the button. Yeah, so he is the photographer. So then they start saying, okay, so he went to court and he lost because they said that the monkey doesn't have intellectual property. It doesn't. It doesn't have the status of an intellectual person because it's not. It's an animal. So then what happened, I'll go real fast. The PETA is the person or people for the fair treatment of animals. They sue him saying that you're exploiting the little animal and you're not giving any money back to him. So you have to actually split the money with the monkey because otherwise we will sue you. And that's what happened. They sue him. But then the court sent back that you cannot sue. A monkey cannot sue because it doesn't have a status. But that brings to me the question again, which is, who is the photographer? Again, from my philosophical point of view, not who pressed the button, not who owned the camera, who is the intellectually possession of being a person, which we will call a photographer, okay? And that is a very complicated problem because most of it is because we are accustomed to a sort of a strange linguistic ethics. We know things because of the words that we use. So for example, the word intention, which is the English version based on the Latin word, it means to have, to possess, to have inside of you the ability to do something, right? So it's based on the subject. But if you look at the word itself, it's a little bit tricky because it could be intent is a thing, a noun, but it could also be I intend to do something, which is basically a verb. When it's a verb, it has an agent. Somebody has to do it. So I am the one who has intention versus the intention alone who is I am trying to find it. Now, interestingly, in Chinese, the word for intention, Ketsuji over there, is composed of two parts. The first part, you can see on the left side, means move, to move something, to steer something. And the second means machine. I will repeat that, machine. So there's nothing about you having an intention. It's something that is outside. It's a machine. It's a thing. Same thing in Greek. Prothesi means to have an intention, but you cannot put it into a verb. You can always possess it. You can find it into the world. You can actually grab it, but it's not yours. It's not inside of you. But for the Westerners, it's inside of you. So therefore, a photographer or a painting or everything is based on that idea of intention. Which brings us to the last part, which is the word design, which is very close to the word art, but design has something even more interesting about it because in Greek, it is interchangeable. So the word design, as we probably know, is, again, a Latin word, which is based on the word to sign something, to make something, to create something out of nothing, to make it happen, okay? And sheji is the Chinese word for that. And the Greek word for that is a strange word, which you probably don't know, but inadvertently you know, because it's a word schedio, which is the word sketch. When you sketch something, you use the Greek word, okay, which is sketching, which is artistic in a way. Or scheme, a scheme, which is a scheme of things, is also from that word, okay? Now, pay attention here why it's important to know that thing. So the word schedo, again, in Greek, everything is related to the etymology, which is the search for the true meaning of something, which is where things came from and what they really, really, really mean in the true sense. So the word schedio means, it's come from the word schedon, which means approximately, almost, nearly, not there yet, which is derived from the word eschin, which means I had. So design, according to that definition, to the Greek language, it means that design is something that you had, but you do not have anymore. you had. It was in the past. You lost it. You forgot it. It's something that was in your mind, or it was somewhere in the world, and it got obstructed. So you couldn't find it. And now you're looking in search to find that thing that you forgot. And that we call design. Now, this is a very interesting thing because it means a whole different thing. It creates a whole different platform, if you like, axiomatic platform to start thinking about what really design is. So it is about recollecting things, remembering things, looking for something that was hidden, that was not there yet, that is about, and we cannot find it because we lost it. And that is in our mind. Our mind is searching for that thing, and is searching it by trying to find something that was hidden, something that was obscured, obfuscated, if you like, okay? Now, the word mind, again, in Greek is nous, which we already know because we know the word noises, we know the word paranoid, which is mean your mind is going through something, so it's not really, you're not clear, you're paranoid. But again, the etymology is from the word nemo, which means to arrange things. So basically, arranging things is basically an act that the mind does all the time, out of which one of them is to find the things that are hidden, which is what we call design. So in that sense, we're getting into looking into what does arrangement mean on the first place. Let's take an example. I want to arrange 4 balls in 4 boxes. They're a full box, and I want to put them in 4 boxes. And I'm thinking about, okay, how do I do that? Logically, I take one, I put one in, then the second one, the third one, then I put in different, and I put them all together. Eventually, I get to find that there's no more than 16 ways. That's it. I mean, Marcus saw it earlier. There's only that many ways you can put the dice. This is how many ways you can put a ball into 4 boxes. And there are 16 ways, or you can call it 2 to the power of 4. So if I ask you how many ways can you put 9 balls into 9 boxes, since we know that 2 to the 4, it must be 2 to the 9th, which is true. Which means that these are all the possible ways we can put something together. These are all the arrangements, out of which some must be hidden inside this arrangements, and we have to find them in order for us to design. I don't know if you follow me, but I'm using different noetic words. So I'm looking over here and say, okay, this is a painting, this is a drawing, it's a pattern. Some of these are going to be ugly, some will be beautiful. I don't like the word beautiful. Let's say something going to be like more organized, more concrete, okay, indices. And some will be less, more like elliptic, more like losing, missing something. How do I find that? I have to find a property that unifies these things together in order for me to design the thing that is lost. And I have to bring it back into surface. So what I do is I say, okay, let me try with something very common, which is the concept of symmetry, okay? And there it is. I find all the symmetrical things. These are concentrically symmetrical ones, which I call them well organized, or in quotes, beautiful. I don't like the word beautiful, but I'm going to use it for a little bit. Or I can get all the horizontally symmetrical. They're all horizontally symmetrical, all the vertically symmetrical. You can see how they're distributed within the context of all these things and how I'm looking for them. Again, out of everything, I'm looking for the ones that actually have something that unifies them, make them exceptional, if you like. Take another example. I have a puzzle, okay? And then I solve the puzzle and I got this. And then I do it again and I get another one. And I do it again and I get another one. And I do it again and I get another one. What if I do all of them? There it is. 99,392, all possible solutions to the puzzle. Now, I know somewhere inside here, there's a nice solution to the puzzle. It's got to be, right? Because this is everything you can possibly have. And I'm trying to find, again, to design, to extract something that is concrete, that has something about it that is exceptional. Okay, so I go close. I get just to verify my point. As I go closer, you're probably going to start seeing what the puzzles look like, right? These are puzzles. Every one of this is solving one of these puzzles, right? There it is closer. You can see now it's pretty clear, right? This is one of them. So I found them, and then I extract the ones who are, again, symmetrical, the ones who have something, some quality that is better or different from the ones. And I have 831 concentrically. Let me get closer. And these are the ones. So these are not solving the problem only, but they actually are more unified, more exceptional, more symmetrical, whatever you want to call it, okay? So what we're talking here is something very strange. Art and design, creativity in general, is not about making something out of nothing, which is what we have been misled by the language, that out of nothing, I make something. That doesn't even make any sense, because what is nothing anyway? What does that mean? Nothing. There is no such thing as nothing. Everything transforms. But anyway, let's assume that exists just for the sake of argument. And we say from nothing, we make something, and we call that design. Big mistake. What I'm proposing is the opposite. From everything, I'm extracting something. That makes more sense, because everything is everything. We know that. And something is something that is coming out of that. But the thing is, again, I call this AI creation, okay? And the beautiful thing is that out of everything, you can not only find something which you're looking for, but maybe you find anything. So anything is possible now because you got everything. So all of a sudden now design has the possibility of being the best, objectively the best, because you got everything and you're finding something. And you're finding exactly the best, as opposed to one of the betters. Let's take one more example over here, words, because that's very important here. So I take words and I put them into 8 different placeholders. So I make sentences, okay? And since we know 8 to the power of 8 is possible, we have 60 million possibilities. And you can see I'm just rearranging each one of them, and I make more and more different sentences, right? And then another sentences, and another sentences. Again, I cannot even put them over here because there's 16 million. That's too many. It's probably all the way down to sipping Lou. Okay. So anyway, the point is that what I'm looking for is that I know, and I know that I'm certain about it, that somewhere there's a sentence that is very, very profound. It's the best sentence anybody can ever say with these words, because it has to be there. Because everything that is being told by Filippo, by Aldo, it's a sentence at the end of the day. It's a words being put together. One of which, combination, is the perfect one. But I can't because it's too many. So what I do is I create a neural network and I search for it inside the neural network through the vast amount of all possibilities in order to find the one I'm looking for. And here's like some of them, the last of which is the one I was looking for, the most profound one. And it says, if it can think of you, you exist. Now, if you think about this strange little sentence, it's a very profound sentence because, number one, it refers to me, the subject, the you, from the it's point of view. So the it is defining me through its thinking. The it is thinking for me to exist. And that's kind of strange because, number one, how can the it think of me? And who is saying that? It's coming from this algorithm that actually extracts one of these sentences, which is a system, if you like, which nobody controls, that actually is telling me something about myself. Okay? One more last one, code. What if I take code and I put it together and I put it in different ways? So this is one way, it's a formula. Again, I'm simplifying code here for the sake of, and I come up with all the possible codes that I can produce. And I put them all into order. And then I go and extract the most significant ones. As I said before, the most symmetrical ones, okay? And here they are, okay? You see them. These are the sequence of numbers that are produced from the formula that you just created by putting them in a loop, okay? And then you get these over here. And I'm going to make them a little bit more visual for you. I'm going to put them into verses over there so you can see how they look like. And I'm looking at the last one. All of them are symmetrical, again, concentrically. And I look at the last one, and I have a declaration to make for you. The numbers that I used over here, I didn't make up numbers. I just found them. The operations is not my invention. I just found them. The random creation over here, I didn't make randomness. I'm just using it to produce the thing over here. And then I get the formula, and then I get the symmetry, okay? And the symmetry at the end is the final product, if you like, the design, the composition, number 2055, whatever it is in the sequence of events that happen, okay? And I'm thinking like, none of them have me inside of it. And then people say to me, well, but you chose the way they're going to be then. Yeah, I chose them, but I don't know what symmetry is. Symmetry, I didn't make symmetry. I didn't make numbers. I didn't make randomness. And yet I got this. And they say, okay, yeah, but you created the sequence that produced it. And I said, what if I randomly remake them again, which means that I am not the one who makes the algorithm. And all of a sudden I get the same thing. Then nobody did it. This is a true sense where nobody did it. And yet I produced a piece of art, if you like, a exceptional drawing. Again, who is the author is the last word that I have. And I said before, to go back to the original sentence that I had, we had the photographer, we had the user, we had the code, we had the neural network. Now we're getting into the permutations. And I think that the author is not really the author of the thing anymore. The author is the author of the tool. The tool makes the author. So AI is not about using AI, it's about making AI. That is how you make art. You make the AI and then you make the art, but you don't use it because then it's not you. Then you fall into the problem of the monkey and the Bellamy problem that you have over there. So that's what we're doing. This is our lab that we do, and basically it's a Shan Xian Lab. And again, the system that I am proposing is you take anything you want, any element, you put them in all possible combinations, you extract the ones, and then you get the best by definition, the best. Okay, and that is, and we have many applications, of course, whatever you can think about, fashion, anything that is combinatorial in nature could be used. I don't know, like music, why not? Makeup, why not? Architecture, why not? Musical groups, we had the other day, yeah. Storytelling boards, chores in the home, ways to travel in different places, food, cheese and wine combinations, which reminds me that lunch is coming. So please have the best lunch possible you can have. So thank you so much.
Fantastic lecture. And for the last speaker, so I suggesting should we have some question from audience? Like Professor Aldo is coming. So do we have any questions to?
Yeah, we want a question from you.
I'm sorry, I'm not a question.
Let's introduce Aldo. Aldo is Aldo Cibik. Is a well-renowned furniture designer and generally interior design designer.
Yeah. Something like that. Something like that. No. Yeah. You know, I have no questions. I'm really, you are an art to make people falling in love with the story. And because of my new life, I'm really, I'm sorry that I lost part of the other speakers, but you know, the issue is how fascinating is to go. I mean, I'm very emotional of these, all these stories. Also of the guy this morning, the one, was American guy, the one with the stripes in the back before funneling.
Oh, that was Andrew Witt, yeah.
Yeah.
From, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's so fascinating that for me that I'm totally out of it.
You know how to write code.
Sorry?
You know how to write code.
Yes, so, I mean, for me, I'm just, sorry if I, but it's just a big door which opens for my future. I'm really falling into it. So that's the only thing I can say. That the issue is interesting how you can approach. We are already working together, staying together, spending time on this. And I'd like, with my innocent and ignorant mind to this field, to fall in this, to get lost in this field. This is what I feel. Thank you.